So you've written your zine, you're ready to put it together. How do you do that? Well, I'm not going to go too in depth. There are a lot of great resources out there that give you actual diagrams and much more in-depth tips on putting together an actual zine, and it's kind of hard to show in a video. So I'll just give you a little bit of advice, things I've learned from all my years of zine making. First of all, I will say that if you are going to put together your zine digitally, and you're not using like InDesign or other software of that type, and just like using more of a basic word processing, that type of program, there is a great free resource called Chapbookify. You upload your files and it puts the pages in the right order and the right layout for a zine or chapbook that you can then, then it's in the correct order for printing, double-sided, or Xeroxing, whatever you want. So I will link that below as well. But I mostly do all my zines old school, totally analog, cut and paste. So that's mostly what I'm going to be talking about here. First, before you do the layout, you have to decide what size and shape your zine is going to be. You can really do whatever size paper you want. There are many sizes and shapes of zines as you could possibly want. It really just depends on how much cutting and all of that you want to do after they're printed. But the standard sizes are like half and quarter size, and usually half and quarter letter, 8.5 by 11, or half and quarter of 8.5 by 14 legal. I'm only using US paper sizes since that's what I'm familiar with. But if you're in a place that uses like A4 and A7 and those type of sizes, the concept is basically the same. So, super simple. A half legal or half letter is just paper folded in half. Quarter is you fold it in half again. And I've got some examples of zines I've done in all those sizes. This is my very most recent zine. It's quarter letter. So see, this is the actual master copy. So it's all like pasted down, and it's just got 8 pages on each sheet of paper. And then here's another one from a few years ago, which is half letter. And then here I've got half legal and quarter legal. So the reason you need to decide before you do the layout what size it's going to be is for 2 reasons. One is that then you'll know how large to print out everything that you're going to paste down, text, images, anything, so it fits on the pages. And the other reason is that if it's half letter or legal, you can fit 4 pages on one sheet of paper. If it's quarter, it's 8 on one sheet. And you need to know this ahead of time because you need to get a firm page count. Once you have everything printed at the right size, you need to map out what order, yes, but what how many pages it takes up. Because if you're doing half size, you have to have pages multiples of 4. That includes the covers. if you're doing quarter size, the pages, including the covers, have to all be, everything is multiples of 8. And, sometimes you have to create some filler pages or leave a couple pages blank to get everything in and have the right, page count for the multiples of 4 or 8. But it's much easier to decide, to figure out filler or blank, where you're putting the blank pages before you paste it all down, then realize you've pasted it all down and you have either you can't fit everything or you have 6 blank pages. So that's my first tip. Now, as far as illustrations for zines, a lot of people, you could just go no illustrations. There are plenty of people who it's all text. And then other people like myself, I do text heavy, but still have some images in there. And there are many options for that. You can use your own photographs, as I mentioned before, or your own artwork, collages, drawings, paintings if, you can scan them, whatever. Clip art. And clip art is great. I especially like vintage clip art because it's usually, one, I like the aesthetic, but 2, it's, usually public domain, royalty free. And there's actually a lot of places online to find all kinds of clip art, vintage and new, and photographs and illustrations, lots of things that are all public domain or Creative Commons. And I will link some of those below as well. And those are all things that, you can use for free. Some of them require attribution or share and share alike. Some of them don't. They're just totally free to do whatever you want with. But yeah, again, I will link some of my favorite resources for those things below. Okay, so you've got everything printed out, page countdown, scissors, glue stick, or paste, or whichever type of stickum you prefer. You can use tape. I usually would urge you not to, just because then you can see the tape in the photocopy, it gets fuzzy, it gets, But if that's the look you're going for, then that's great too. And then, okay, so it's all pasted up. You're ready to print it. You can print totally in color. I prefer not to. I don't like the look of zines that are totally in color. Some people just do full color covers and then the inside's black and white, which is cool. And then there's other things you can do to make the covers more interesting if you want. You could just print, only the cover on a different color of paper. The copies are black and white still, but, an interior is black on white paper. But, just use some different colors of paper for the covers. Or I mentioned before vellum covers, which I did for a recent zine. And then for binding, like I said, I do hand stitch sometimes with embroidery thread and a really thick needle. There are actually book binding things, but you can also just use a large embroidery needle. It works best for thinner zines because otherwise it's kind of hard to get it through all the pages. But or you can just go stapling, and I suggest you get yourself a really good stapler if you plan on making zines at all, and especially if you're doing it by hand, that is, and not sending it out somewhere for printing and binding, because and I would recommend something like this, It's like a saddle stitch stapler as opposed to a long arm. It works a lot better for me. I've had lots of issues with long arms, and so yeah, it's a good investment if you plan on sticking with zines for any length of time. So that is all I'm going to say about layout and binding, and now we will get to the final segment of this video.